the legendary Brent Musburger.
You are looking live at the Los Angeles Coliseum.
It's Christopher Mad Dog Russo.
I don't know what you can't understand about this. It's pretty obvious.
These two icons will put their talents to the test each week as they go head-to-head and duke it out for gridiron supremacy. You can hear My Guys in the Desert with Brent Musburger weekdays from 6 to 8 Eastern on the Vegas Stats and Information Network, Sirius XM 204.
Give me anybody but the Patriots and who's playing the Browns. You know what I mean?
And you can hear Christopher Mad Dog Russo weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Sirius XM 82.
I am going to give you a Titan Panthers Super Bowl.
The lines are moving and the money is flying.
Show me the money!
Let the battle begin. Here they are. It's Mad Dog and Musburger.
Yes, indeed.
Minneapolis Miracle. Oh, mercy.
Here's our pal. Does Brent hear us? Brent, how are you today, buddy? Okay.
I am fine, Mad Dog. I broke you out of your losing streak in a big way last week, buddy. It went right down to the last play. Last play between you and me.
You got burned. Now,
I did.
Let's talk to Vinny for a second on that game. How much money did Vegas lose because they won a little on the same money line, Vinny, but they got burned without the extra point because it was at 5.5. So they had a great day with Pittsburgh losing at the top of the day, but then they got hurt some with Minnesota. Give me some thoughts on that for a sec.
Well, you can really not measure it because it depends on where you were, Mad Dog. So think about this. Some places went as high as 5.5, which means the game falling 5 is a middle. And middle for a book is the worst possible scenario because you're paying both sides in essence. So here at the South Point, we got what's called sided. So because we never went above it. And fortunately, the reason we didn't was because somebody came in and took a position earlier that day on the Saints, both on the money line and plus the 5. So he got a refund on that, but he lost the money line. But that said, anytime a game falls right on the number, we're doing a lot to transfer funds and stimulate the economy.
All right, so
let me interject because I just left Mr. Michael Gaughan's office. Okay, the owner of the South Point and one of the original great bookmakers in this town, and I walked in, and he said it cost me $200,000. I said, "Excuse me, Michael?" He said, "Yeah, it cost me $200,000." He said, "Why couldn't they have kicked that extra point?" Of course, big smile across his face because then it would have gone to 6. And as Vinny tells you, would have gotten off that dead number of 5. It blistered. It blistered the houses in this city. So the next thing he asked me, what's the condition of Tom Brady's hand?
It's funny that I got burned earlier in the year with the Oakland game on Christmas night when he didn't kick the extra point. Vinny, there's just been new. Now you got to bite your fingernails if there's a last touchdown scored, whether the coach decides to take a knee or kick the extra point. That's a couple times this year. How about that?
Yeah, it happened in Kansas City. There was a game in Kansas City where remember the last play of the game? I think it was against the Redskins.
Yeah, but they had covered with the 6 points.
They had covered, yeah. But yeah, anytime and that's why I think what we'll see during the regular season it means something. During the playoffs it doesn't because during the regular season they need to kick it or they need to have a determination because of it's an eventual playoff tiebreaker. But in the playoffs you don't need it. But so either way it would have fell 5 in this case. But listen, here we go. We reload. We get ready for this week, of course, with the Patriots hosting the Jags and the Vikings going to Philly. Two great games.
We will get to Brent and all his thoughts in a sec. What game is being bet on more, the Jacksonville game with the Pats or the Minnesota game?
Both games very heavily, but one-sided in the Jags game. Now think about this.
Everybody's taking the Patriots, right?
Everybody. Actually, no, because this game with the Brady situation, right now it's been all Jaguars. The game opened 9 here. Now at the South Point, the game is 7. So a 2-point move.
I'll tell you right now, if you haven't bet the game yet, run on the Patriots.
So here's what's going to happen. Chris, you bring up a great point because here's why. First of all, we're never, ever struggling to get Patriot money, number one. And the minute he takes his first snap, whether it's in practice, but certainly come Sunday, when he's out there warming up, the minute he takes his first snap, this number will start to creep back up.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
So if you want the Patriots, take them now then.
Now is, lay the 7.
All right. What is the most popular bet this weekend? Eagles money line?
Eagles money line is definitely drawing some attention. This is a game where the Eagles opened. The Vikings opened $1.80. Now they're down to $1.55. So from 9-5 to almost 3-2. So more Eagle money coming in on the money line. But overall, the game is pretty much two-way.
Yeah, very tricky game. All right, Vinny, we'll get back to you in a sec. Brent,
yes, sir.
You're my pal. Let's do a couple things here. Let's first do something on. We did it on Enberg. Got to ask you a couple things on Keith Jackson. You basically followed him over there on the on ABC with all the college football games. Classy guy, allowed the analyst to be the star. Give me a word or two on him first. He passed away last Saturday. We didn't get a chance to talk about it prior. Give me some thoughts on him. What can you tell me?
Chris, he was the voice of college football, and he will always retain that label ahead of any of the rest of us who either preceded him, as was the case with Chris Schenkel, or those who followed him, as I did, and some others have come along now. Very, very nice man to be around. Liked the game between the foul lines. Was never comfortable with any kind of a news story away from the game itself, and that helped endear him to millions and millions of people who are tuning in just to watch the game. And, of course, he was the original voice of Monday Night Football, which a lot of the millennials don't remember.
I will ask you something about that in a minute, but go ahead. Finish up here.
Well, it was then, it was not a good marriage between Howard Cosell and Keith Jackson, and Howard stepped on him a little bit before he could finish his thoughts. The two later wind up working together,
with the baseball,
covering Major League Baseball games, okay? And they made that work. I suspect that the rhythm of the game made it a little bit easier for Keith in that situation. Wonderful family man. Lived in Thousand Oaks, California, outside of Los Angeles, where he passed away. The Rose Bowl was always his favorite. And, of course, he was the one who labeled it the granddaddy of them all. And those of us who followed have used it with similar success, but it was Keith who first put it on the map. He also had a summer place up in British Columbia, Canada. In his spare time, he loved to go fishing, and he and his wife traveled with him a lot in the later days of him covering football. A lot of people, for whatever reason, assumed that he was out of the Southeast, but he was not. He was a Northwesterner. He went to Washington State. Later was a very successful broadcaster in Seattle. But I don't know anybody who didn't get along, other than Howard, during some of the games. But that was a different situation. But everybody loved Keith. And I will give you one little anecdote, Mad Dog. He was doing the game in that great series between the Mets and the Houston Astros.
86, 86.
We go 16 innings, all right?
Game 6.
Johnny Bench is working the radio with me over at CBS Radio, and we were in adjacent booths, okay? And there was just a wall separating the two broadcast booths, and everybody was exhausted when it finally came to an end. It was gut-wrenching. There was a home run in the 15th inning, and that tied the game up again, and on they went, and then so when we all have signed off and the post games are out of the way and we're all just kind of relieved, all of a sudden, Mr. Jackson's arm came around that wall, and I'll never forget, was a nice bottle of vodka, and Johnny and I could ease our tensions and passions with a nice adult beverage at the conclusion of that game. But he was fun to be around. I enjoyed him tremendously, and like I said, he was the dean, and he will go down as the most loved voice ever when it comes to college football.
He got the break of all time, in essence, because Aldridge gave him the college football, Brent, after Monday Night Football. So although he lost that gig, they did make him the voice of college football shortly thereafter. So in essence, getting out of the Howard Cosell umbrella was a break for him, correct?
Oh, no doubt about it. And he was much more comfortable in the college booth than he ever was starting out. But it's interesting. If people should go up to YouTube, it's up there. The first opening of Monday Night Football.
I got to watch that.
Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, and the Jets.
Go up and watch it. Municipal Stadium, Cleveland, Ohio. It's the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets meeting for the first time ever. And it's the voice of Keith Jackson before he introduces Howard and Dandy Don, and that starts it all. Of course, it was and then in talking to Pete Rozelle, because we were quite familiar because we were doing the NFL Today. Pete did not name them, but he said, before the game was over, he said, I had a half dozen owners in the NFL call me and say, you've got to get rid of that Cosell. This is terrible. This is awful.
As it turns out, Keith is one of the... All right, that's the first thing. The second thing, and then we got to do the picks, which is important. I have to get a word or two on JoJo White. I did Tommy Heinsohn and Don Chaney 2 days ago, so he'd be proud of me. I led one show this week, Thursday, with Heinsohn. He was tremendous. You did the game when JoJo played 60 minutes of the 63 classic Game 5 in Phoenix with the Celtics at the Garden. You did that series. He was the MVP. A word, if you can, quickly, Brent, on JoJo White.
Wonderful player to be around. And the thing I remember, Mad Dog, from that triple overtime game when the series was tied at 2 and he played 60 minutes, was there was a timeout. And right in front of the announce table, we were at mid-court in the old Boston Garden. JoJo was exhausted and was sitting down.
I remember that.
Okay?
Famous.
Trying to get his breath down there. And he was a terrific fellow to be around.
That's one of the great games in the history of your career, is it, Brent, doing that game?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody.
I know you did a lot. I know you've done a lot of them. I think you also did the Flutie. Did you do the Flutie game? I don't know if you did that one.
I did.
You did.
I did do the Flutie game.
But and I know you did the Villanova Georgetown game, which is up there too. But I would think that game. And you were a great NBA guy. You did the NBA for a lot of years. I would think that game is one of the top 5 games you've ever called. Is that correct?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it's right at the top of the list with the NBA for sure, and they keep playing it over and over again.
Mendy Rudolph, Brent. Mendy Rudolph.
He was, listen, he was with me, and Rick Barry, who was still playing.
Yes.
And could have been really an all-time analyst in the
he was good.
NBA.
Everybody hated.
Exactly.
Rick.
Everybody got upset with him. One of my favorite stories was that night about Rick. We come to the arena, and Red Auerbach had turned the entire city of Boston against the three of us, claiming that we were Phoenix homers and pulling for the Suns and blah, 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 blah. And there were fans pelting us with things as we tried to get into the stadium. And so there was the three of us, and when we went in, Rick Barry went across the court and went inside to hide in the Phoenix Suns locker room. Mendy Rudolph went across with him, and he went to the referee's locker room. So I was left alone to field the slings and arrows.
I love
it. I'll never forget, security had to peel at least one guy off of me. It was within a few feet of getting in my face. And I later, Red and I were pretty good friends, actually. I later said to him I said, Red, what the hell was going on? What do you turn the Boston Globe against us and the whole? He laughed and he took a puff on his cigar and he said, I just wanted to get everybody ready for Game 5. You understand? I don't want you to take it personally, but I just wanted to get everybody fired up. I want a real home court advantage in Game 5, and he got it. He got it, my friend. I'll tell you that.
One of the great games. Okay, Brent, I outpointed you last week, 70-50.
Did. Minneapolis Miracle.
Got lucky. So I'm ahead here in the points. I got the 10 points in week 1, too, at Buffalo.
You did. Now, Buffalo.
You get the 2 games. I guess we'll do it, 40-20? How do you want to do the points this week? What do you want to do it?
At 40-20 is fine.
All right, you pick it because this is a good contest you came up with. You get first selection. Go ahead. The Minnesota game and, of course, the Patriot game.
All right, I am going to pick the New England Patriots.
-7.5.
-7. I'm going to make that my 20-point game. Patriots -7.5.
I will make that my 40-point game. I will give up the 7.5 too. I just do not see any way that Jacksonville. I don't worry about Brady's hand. I think Jacksonville's path to victory is too slim. They have to play excellent defense and also score 20-something points. I don't know if they're going to do either, so as a result, I'll take the Pats. I'll pick at 27-10. I'll give up the 7.5. So we both like New England. You like it a little less than I do. I'll take it at 40. You take it at 20. Game 2. Go ahead.
Game 2, I'll take the Vikings as my 40-point game. Give you the 3. I know you're the home dog. I know you got those masks stashed away, those hound dog masks that you want to wear again. I've got Great respect for what the Eagles did last week to get into this game. But when I went back and looked at it, Mad Dog, I honestly came away thinking that the Falcons lost it rather than the Eagles went out and won it, if that makes any sense.
I agree with you on that, yes.
So I'm going to go with the Vikes as my 40-pointer.
I am going to take him as my 20, as I agree with you, believe it or not. And I took, for Vinny, a 2-team New England-Minnesota parlay, and watch me lose it. But I got in a car last Sunday after the 2 games, Brent and Vinny, and I thought that Minnesota and New England would definitely win this week, and I'm going to stick with it. I've been awful. I've lost 12 out of 13, Musburger, thanks partly to you. Alabama, the 11-0 against his assistants and all that nonsense.
I don't know why I'm getting blamed for that, but whatever. The dog is my man,
But I'll take Minnesota minus the 20 with the 20 points. So you and I are on the same path. All right, what is, if I did do a Minnesota-New England parlay 2-teamer, what am I going to get out of that? 2.5 to 1, Vinny? What's my payoff on that bet today?
13 to 5. 13 to 5, Mad Dog. 500 gets you 1,300, get you back 1,800.
Now, do you think that's a good play, Brent, or not? A Minnesota-New England parlay in this game?
I would bet those 2 games straight. I wouldn't parlay them.
Well, I've done that already. I've done that already, Brent.
Oh, you already have done that?
Yeah, so I'm going.
Then I would tease. Why don't you tease them?
I don't like tease. Tease is a tease. That's a sucker bet. I hate those bets.
But you love New England, right?
I do. Yes, I do.
Okay, you can get them down to my half point, and you can make Minnesota the underdog. What's not to like?
Yeah, because
$1.50.
On a 2-team?
Yeah.
Oh, you're laying $1.50?
Oh, that's a 7.
Yeah,
but if we lay 6, it's less.
It's
$1.20, right?
About $1.35.
No, I'm not going to get. Why would I do that,
yeah.
Brent? No, that doesn't. Boy, Brent, I'll tell you. No wonder I lose because I listen to you.
No, listen, I did with the Eagles. With the Eagles, I did. So, Dog, you want to parlay them? Okay.
I already did. Minnesota and New England. I'll take my chances. I got it at 3. I got the parlay at 3 and 8.
What'd you get the other half?
8.5.
8.5.
Well, I did it before I knew about Brady, so I got burned with that.
Oh yeah. Wow. Now you better go back and make a second bet. You better get off that 8.5 because it's down to 7.5.
These triple whammy. Brandon, you want to pay for it if I lose? I didn't think so.
I'm going to have to when you come visit us in Vegas.
I'm there. I am there. Brent, we'll talk to you next week. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks at the Super Bowl. We're looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks, man.
Vinny, well done. Always a pleasure, Vin. We continue. Mad Dog Unleashed.